Hello and welcome. Let me first off, thank you all for joining us for this webinar this evening, and special thanks to Trevor and Heisel for hosting and promoting this content tonight. This is absolutely surreal time for all of us in the U.S. and especially in the dental economy. Like you all, we at TUSK are taking it day by day and sometimes hour by hour. But rest assured that we're all healthy here at Team TUSK and that we hope you are all as well. I really count us as lucky that because we're able to be 100% open for business. Since Monday of last week, we've all been working from home, and I'm happy to say it's close to business as usual as possible. That said, we have worked more hours in recent weeks than we have in the weeks that led up to this in reaction to COVID-19. Although we were scheduled to speak exclusively on specialist opportunities in the DSO space, we felt it important that we share with you a little bit about COVID-19 in today's presentation to make sure that all of you on this webinar were aware of what we've been learning in recent weeks and phone calls. So before we get started, just want to say special thanks again to all of you for being here, and our hearts go out to each and every one of you. Tonight, you'll have two presenters, myself, Kevin Cumbus, President and Co-founder of TUSK Partners, and Ryan Mingus, who I'll introduce in a moment. Just so you're aware, a little bit about me. I spent the first 10 years of my career in finance and investment banking, focused primarily on mergers and acquisitions with a heavy dose of exposure to private equity groups. The last 15 years of my business experience has been focused in the business of dentistry at various well-known national brands, and most recently co-founded TUSK Partners to help entrepreneurs like you all start, grow, or sell your group practice or DSO. Also joining us on the line tonight is Ryan Mingus, Manager of M&A and Business Development. Ryan brings a history of management consulting, business development, and strategy across many healthcare services verticals, and most recently was with Align Technology, bringing Invisalign solutions to enterprise-level DSOs. He is a wealth of knowledge and has been a tremendous resource to DSOs and orthodontists and other specialists throughout the nation. A quick reminder on TUSK, we really aid the entrepreneur in helping them start, grow, or sell their group practice or DSO. I think we are extremely unique, especially in this time, given the fact that we are not a one-trick pony. We are not exclusively here to sell your business. In the event that you are thinking about a sale, and we have many clients who do this, they come to us and say, where am I in my journey? Where am I in my profitability? And what is the likely valuation for my business? We're able to guide them and say, you know, there's some things you can do over the next 60 to 90 days to help window dress your business for sale, expand the profitability inside of your business, and have a consulting arm in our business that we rely on to help achieve those goals. So when you come to us, the answer is not just, yeah, let's go to sale. It could be, let's wait 30 to 60 days, help you prepare your business for it, especially in these tumultuous times. So I'm proud of the business we built and would love to, if you'd like to learn more about it, feel free to hop over to our website. A little bit about TUSK, 10 fully dedicated team members with over 80 years of dental experience in the industry, in the business side of dentistry. Collectively, we've worked on over 900 dental transactions over our career. Currently, as of today, we have $170 million worth of dental deals under letter of intent that we're all scheduled to close in the coming months before the COVID-19 outbreak. We fully expect all of those deals to close and are building a robust pipeline on the back end of this with the expectation the market is going to be strong coming out of this environment. We cover 100% of all specialties, and so we know that on the call this evening, there's specialties from every field. We work with each and every one of them, and you'll see a little later that most of our business is focused in the specialty work. Over the course of 2019, I'm proud to say that our average deal closed at 175% of revenue, so we brought a lot of value to the space over the course of the business to date. So let's go ahead and just kind of take the bull by the horns here and touch on the impact of COVID-19. We had spent an abundance of time on the phone with anyone and everyone you can imagine that's touching the dental community, attorneys, accountants, large group practices, leadership inside of multi-state groups, founders of new regional groups, and individual dentists nationwide. The impact is vast and wide, and as we probably all know, and for those of you on the phone, most dental offices are closed today. And sadly, many are laying off team members and either furloughing them or taking them to full unemployment. Every DSO we speak with, hundreds of locations nationwide, have laid off somewhere between 80 to 100% of their entire team, and they're doing so with good legal counsel. We want you to focus on your business so you have a business coming out of COVID-19 to employ your team. But it's imperative that you reach out to a labor attorney and do this the right way to, one, protect your team so they can apply for the benefits that they can receive from both state and federal agencies, and two, that you do this in a compassionate way that protects yourself legally. So it's not just something you should take lightheartedly, and I know no one is. These have been some of the hardest days for our clients and dentists nationwide, but we strongly encourage you to reach out to an attorney to ensure that you're doing this in a compassionate manner. Secondly, some offices are not taking the necessary steps to prepare for this reopen. You really need to begin thinking of this reopen as a relaunch of your business. You're going to need capital to do so. You're going to need working capital to do so. You're going to need a business plan and a strategy to do that. And you're going to need patience to do that. We are hearing of dentists that are simply canceling appointments and not rebooking them. We strongly encourage you to rebook every patient that you speak with, as you will need those patients when you reopen. We are recommending that you do a 1-week cancellation roll and then reschedule them in the slots inside of your schedule. I'm happy to say that we spoke with 2 large DSOs yesterday that said that their patients were furious that they had to cancel their hygiene appointment. So good news there from consumer sentiment is there seems to be a lot of demand for your services out there, and hopefully it will return quickly. I'll also add that this is not a time to panic, but really a time to plan and get thoughtful about your business and the business you want to build and rebuild coming out of this environment. We have spent a lot of time building content, as others have. I strongly recommend that if you have not yet, pop over to tusk-brokerage.com, take a look at the blogs, absolutely listen to the podcasts. We're going to be putting out podcasts at a much more regular click. Consistent clip. We've been doing so weekly for the past couple of weeks, but I think you're going to see a higher volume of those coming out. Over the weekend, we released one specifically on COVID-19 that I think has some absolutely critical information for those of you who are going through a shutdown and preparing for a reopen. Know that everyone here at TUSK is open to take calls and have conversations with you and are eager to help you succeed in these new times. Finally, I would say this: communicate with your patients regularly through virtual means, digital means. Let them know that you're here and you're available. Sadly, I believe that there's going to be a lot of advertising and support for restaurants and local businesses for us to all get back out there and shop local and support our local delis. Hopefully, the ADA will follow suit and we'll see similar ad campaigns for dentists, but I would not bank on that. So look after yourself, let your patients know you're there. And finally, for the specialist on the call, which is most of you, be sure to contact your referring doctors and referring partners to check in on them. We all remember 2008 when general dentists decided that in order to supplement their income, they decided that maybe I'll do a little ortho, or maybe I'll take care of that simple root canal. Let them know you're here too. Let them know that your team is suffering as well, and that when we get open for business, you are eager to receive those referrals. Sadly, not all offices are going to survive this period. We've taken calls with CPA firms that focus exclusively on the dental professional and typically work with dentists doing solo practices doing about $1 million or less in revenue. Dentists in this category, especially dentists over the age of 65, are looking at this as a tragic opportunity for them. They've worked hard to get the businesses where they are today, and the thought of a reopen and a restart and reshuffling the deck and building a new marketing plan and reestablishing revenue streams in communities is simply too much for them. That coupled with low cash on balance sheet or not enough personal savings is really making them wonder what to do next. So we are discovering businesses that are in desperate need of a lifeline of capital to succeed, and are going to need to see some doctors really recommit to the business. And the curious question is, are they going to be willing to recommit to those businesses? And if you are one of those doctors, there are buyers for your businesses. We've been in contact with a lot of them. We're more than happy to take your calls as well. These buyers are not looking for an opportunistic purchase. They're actually looking to do some humanitarian-based M&A, where they'll work with you and help you get back on your feet to help you rebound that business, but do so with a strong balance sheet and strong operational support. So just know that help is out there. Additionally, some early stage groups or groups that had decided that they wanted to chase dots on a map rather than profitability and building sustainable businesses, they unfortunately may have to shutter their doors as well. The DSO economy and building a DSO is something that is not for the faint of heart. It is not easy. With those who want to do it, we try to talk them out of it early and often. We see a lot of businesses try to treat DSOs like a nights and weekend business. I'll work in my practice 4 days a week, and then I'll just nibble on that DSO or work on that DSO on Friday afternoons, and then maybe a little bit on the weekend. Businesses that have been pulled together this way are going to struggle and are struggling. And for those of you as well, if you're looking to sell your business instead of reopening, feel free to give us a call. There are people that want to deploy capital into your businesses to help you succeed. We want to make sure that your patients have access to care. Let me shine a bright light in a dark place here. There is some good news. We have been thinking about the recovery and the rebound of the dental economy about 2 days into the financial crash. We've talked a lot with doctors about how to prepare for this and thinking strategically about which businesses should be coming online most quickly. It is obvious to us. Pediatrics, oral surgery, endo, perio, prosthodontics, and orthodontics will be some of the fastest to rebound. The ortho might sound a little curious to some of you, and if orthodontists on the call are concerned about that, I think what we've seen in the U.S. is that straight teeth are almost a rite of passage. It's a birthright here in the U.S. There might be a small lag, but we fully anticipate all of these businesses to recover and recover quickly. Obviously, the sooner the U.S. economy gets back up and running, the better. But most importantly, because we have a lot of young college-age students and high school students out of school with not a lot to do, I know my wife is going bananas. She would love nothing more than to take the kids to get haircuts, get their physicals, get their teeth cleaned, and get my son that orthodontic appointment that he so desperately needs. So you've got these people, my family, for example, sitting around with not a lot to do that would love to come in and spend time with you. Let's talk about the historical perspective. I think the past is really the best place to look and probably the best predictor of what we should see in the future here. What you see here are really the three most recent recessions that we have suffered through. This is looking back at the 1990, 2001, and 2007, 2008 crashes. They're easy for someone my age to remember, but in 1989, 1990 was a result of restricted monetary policy by the Fed. In 2001, we saw what was called the 9/11 recession, coupled with kind of a collapse of the dot-com industry, and then finally 2007 was the subprime mortgage crisis. The interesting thing about all this is that during each of these recent recessions, the dental spending in the United States was flat, not down. Now, these were systemic financial crises where we had problems with access to capital and exposures of cracks inside of our economic systems. Yet the spending in the dental community was flat, not down. Well, private equity took interest in this, and after each and every recovery, they began to pour more and more money into the dental economy because for all intents and purposes, it looked recession resistant. That's an important word as we're walking into some uncertain times in the U.S. economy. No business is recession proof, but dentistry has proven to be over time recession resistant. We fully expect to see this continue, and let's show you what's happened over time in the dental economy as a result of this. On this page, you will see the top 12 DSOs in the nation. Down the left-hand side column, some of these brands will be very familiar to you depending on where you live in the nation. Some might be new, but they're ranked by the number of practices that they ended 2019 with. We run a survey each and every year of all DSOs that are actively buying practices, both branded and non-branded. Sometimes you've heard these called invisible DSOs in the nation, but we reach out to them as a survey to understand how they grew this year. So you can see the study goes back to 17 when we really began in earnest to track these numbers. The other thing I want to point out here is that of these 12, only one is privately held. The remaining 11 are all owned by private equity. And finally, for those of you who haven't seen this slide before, the growth from 2011 to 2019, again, remember those periods of time when we had recessions in our economy. Since 2011, the growth rate has simply been staggering for some of these businesses. And with Heartland ending with 1,000 locations by the end of 19, and at the bottom of this graph, you can see North American Dental Group grew almost 800% over that same time. So this is what we've been seeing. And now that we've set the table for what's been going on in the industry and what we expect to see happen in the future, we want to tighten this up a little bit more around the specialty space. So today, the group dental practices and DSOs represent about 20 to 22% of the dental economy when we look at the number of practices affiliated with a DSO. It is projected that this will grow to about 35 to 40% of the total dental market within the next 5 years. Most of this growth will not come from the 12 businesses we just looked at. Most of the growth is actually coming from doctor-founded, debt-funded dentists and specialists like all of you on the phone. That is really the clients that we work with the most. There are hundreds and hundreds of you out there that have seen the value that's been created in these enterprise-level DSOs and are believing you have better ways to do it, and many of you do. But that's where most of this growth is coming from. Although it is fueled by private equity groups, because ultimately the dentists that are building these groups are building them to sell. Everything should be built to sell, whether or not you sell it. It needs to be bought by someone. And it's really these private equity groups and their investment inside of the space that become the ultimate buyers for all of these businesses for now. It's been a long time since we've seen a dental business go public. We have heard rumblings of dental businesses that would like to go public and businesses that are built to go public. We have not seen that yet and probably will, but it won't be in the next year. Finally, 70 plus private equity backed groups in the U.S. today. I actually expect this number to grow a lot in the next couple of months. Private equity groups, they do love opportunity, and they love nothing more than buying low and selling high. They are capitalists, just like all of us on the phone here, and I think that they're going to be looking to our economy as an opportunity to get in and help and aid groups that are looking for capital at this point, help them right-size their business, and begin a tear of acquisitions that should be fascinating to watch. But over all this time, specialists have been largely left out of DSO opportunities. And, you know, it's always kind of challenged us. And I think some specialists have been curious why they've been left on the sidelines. Many of these businesses, Heartland being one of the grandfathers of them all, were built around general dentistry. The thought being that general dentistry has a slug of recurring revenue called hygiene. And that recurring revenue of hygiene and those repeat visits create opportunities for doctors to diagnose additional dental needs from the patient base. And although that really was the foundational principle for a lot of DSOs, we have now seen this change. The reason that they've been left out in the cold for a little while was there's a true scarcity of specialists in the market. There are just not that many of you guys. I know that specialty residency programs just aren't graduating that many endodontists in the state of Alabama, for example. We were down there speaking at the alumni meeting and understand that they're going to be about 4 residents graduating from the state of Alabama, and many of whom might not even stay in the state. So where's the value in an endo practice if the specialists aren't going to be there? So there's the scarcity of the specialists that's an issue. The questions around, are specialty practices referral driven or not? I have to kind of go back to the 2008, and GPs began performing more specialty services. When I look at it through the lens of history, I think this was actually a good thing because it drove specialists to take more control of the patient. We saw more direct-to-consumer advertising for patient care than ever before after 2008, when the specialists began to see some of their high-margin work being kept by general dentists. There's been a kind of a shift of power, a shift of power from the GP being the lone referring source, or the pediatric dentist being the lone referring source to the specialists taking control. The internet is an extremely powerful tool, and I think most specialists today have a website, pay for search engine optimization, and want to be the #1 specialist in their field in any community. The reality is, when my child got a referral to an orthodontist, the first thing I did was begin to talk to other parents of children that were either in braces or about to be in braces, and also start my Google search and look at 5-star reviews. Our referral is not as strong as it was 10 years ago. So those who can be top of search engine can drive more patients to their businesses without referrals, not be so dependent on them, are creating more value. So DSOs looked at these 3 things and said, look, we can actually get through the scarcity of the specialists if we can have the specialists commit to a long-term employment agreement of 5 years. If they commit for 5 years, that gives us 60 months to replace them if and when that specialist wants to leave. And if they're willing to do that, we're willing to pay them a lot higher than 80% of trailing 12-month revenue for the value of their business. Secondly, on referral driven, most of the DSOs that are focused exclusively on the specialty space have a robust marketing machine behind them. They bring that marketing machine to your practice, they revamp your website, and if you're 80% referral driven when you start that journey with them, they want to see you become 60% referral driven as quickly as possible and continually drive that percentage down. So I would say that business is open for specialists that are looking for this opportunity. It is a relatively new opportunity for specialists, and we here just want to share with you what we know about it and how you might be able to act upon it. So in the last 5 years, all that has changed, and we wanted to show you the 3 distinct options that specialists now have in the DSO community. So option 1 is actually go at it on your own. There are hundreds of groups with 2 or more specialists or 2 or more locations. I think all the oral surgeons on the call are going, we've been doing this for decades. We had this thought way back when. We've been lucky enough to work with, surgical groups with 10 surgeons, 10 partners, 6 partners, 3 partners. I mean, really, you guys were the ones who were leading this charge many, many decades ago in understanding the economies of scale that you can get, the access to patient care that you have, and the ability to kind of roll around resources to meet patients where they are. There is funding available for these groups, both from the private equity markets, family funds, and then also from more institutional bank debt. Our consulting arm works exclusively with these groups, doctor-founded, debt-funded groups, and helping them build a scalable, repeatable business that can continue to grow in both great economic times and challenging ones. So you can always go at it on your own. The other thing you can do is join a specialty DSO. There is actually a specialty DSO for every specialty on the call today. This is a relatively new business. The first one we saw was Smile Doctors, which is an orthodontic-only DSO. And quickly on the heels of that, we've seen oral surgery specific and endo specific, pedo specific, pedo ortho specific. We know of an endo perio group. These are relatively young businesses compared to Heartland, Aspen, Pacific Dental, the large, let's call them household names in the DSO community. Some have private equity backing while others do not. Some are on their first acquisition, partner with a private equity group, and have very little infrastructure, whereas others are 3 years into a strategic journey, have built a robust business, and are preparing for their sale to the next private equity company. I would say these companies, just like larger DSOs, are not created equally. And as Ryan's going to show you a little later in our presentation how these transactions really work, each of them are going to require you, or maybe give you the opportunity to roll equity inside of their business. And given that opportunity, you need to be especially careful about understanding what that equity is worth today and what it could be worth tomorrow compared to what the promises are. I think today more than ever, with the market down close to 40%, we're all a lot more skeptical about what the future looks like, but are also interested in finding strong economic returns. And there are excellent economic returns to be had inside of both new and more mature DSOs. The key is knowing where to find those, and that we make that our business. Thirdly, you could join a national DSO. Like the group the 12 we just looked at, many of those who were built on a foundation of general practitioner acquisitions are now desperately looking for specialists to fill in clusters of GP practices they have. We are speaking more and more often with private equity-backed DSOs looking to partner with specialty groups. It doesn't matter what they're called. You might have heard them called invisible DSOs, but these are groups that really don't want to change anything about your business, but leverage the success that you have. They have many times have robust infrastructure, and they are actually looking for leadership inside of your specialty that they can lean on. They are not looking to change you. They're looking to learn from you. So again, 70 private equity-backed groups in this bucket, and hundreds of doctor-owned groups that are living in this space as well. The short story is there are more buyers than ever for your specialty practices, which leads me to the next slide. If there are more buyers for your businesses than ever, they're having a hard time finding you. And what you're likely doing is receiving unsolicited offers from the market. I will share that we get calls from clients and potential clients just about weekly, indicating to us that they have received an unsolicited offer from a buyer. A specialty business has received an unsolicited offer from a buyer, and they don't know what they should do. We work with clients in this case frequently, and are able to help them understand what their value of their business is. And in every situation where we've worked with clients this way, we brought to them an overall increase in the value of their business between 35 to 56% from the original unsolicited offer. Sometimes that is with the person or company that provided that offer, but many times it is not. We are quick to tell everyone and make sure everyone on this call knows that who you partner with matters as much as more than what they are offering. These deals are a little unique. You're selling a portion of your business, and you're continuing to work inside of your business for as many as 5 years. They are truly a partner. This is absolutely a marriage. So who that buyer is, what their culture is like, who the leadership is, how long they have been in place, all truly matters. And we tell our clients regularly, the top offer from a financial perspective might not be the best offer for you. So just wanted to share those comments with you and then give you a little bit of an update on where practice valuations are going. So today I will share that the market is a little bit sideways for the M&A side of our business, but this obviously is related to COVID-19 and nothing more. But before this disruption in our economy, we had seen some cracks in the dental economy leading up to this event. The first one was North American Dental Group. They're a large multi-state DSO and were the fastest growing DSO from 2011 to 2019. They had some reasonable and rational valuation expectations that that everyone I think in the market believed would be met, but unfortunately were not met in the market. And the private equity buyers performed a lot more scrutiny on their business than we've seen private equity buyers perform in the past. There's whisper numbers out there where the deal traded. What we do know is that it didn't match expectations coming out of the gate. The great news is they did get a deal done with a remarkable family fund out of Europe that is going to take all profits and plow them back into children's education. It's a wonderful fit for Ken Cooper and Andrew Mata and their team. And ultimately, again, this is a situation where the partner matters more than the economics. But again, the economic expectations really weren't met there. The second is Smile Brands. This is a great business that everybody, I'm sure, at least on the West Coast, is well aware of. This was a deal that was taken to market in late 2019 that ultimately did not get done. This is the first deal of this size in this market that we're aware of where we have a failed process. Failed processes can happen for a whole host of reasons. They can be cultural, they can be economic, they can be market-driven, but going through a marketed process is time-consuming and expensive. And to not get out through the other side without a partner absolutely leads us to ask a lot of questions and scratch our head, wondering what's happening to the buy side of the market. So these were really the two big events that led us to wonder, were we at the top of the market then? And we began telling clients we absolutely believe we are, and we wonder if the best days of valuation are behind us. Now those are the big deals in the market. On the smaller side, in 2019 and 2020, we continued to see high multiples trading. We'll show you some of our comparables on the next slides. But if you have profit, you've got structure inside of your business and strong leadership that understands the business and has a vision for where it is going, you're in some pretty rare air. There are not a lot of groups with over $1 million of EBITDA, somewhere between $1 million and $20 million of EBITDA, that have those three characteristics. And if you fall in that bucket, there is high demand for your business. We fully expect valuations to be strong for small groups that are not yet private equity backed going through 2020. I think this is absolutely a function of supply and demand. There are going to be the same number of buyers once the economy reopens, but there are not going to be the same number of sellers. A lot of groups will be licking their wounds, focused on core business, rightfully so. They employ hundreds of people, 10 to hundreds of people, and they need to protect those jobs and make sure those businesses are back up and running. I think what Ryan will share with you is there is a pathway forward, and we absolutely believe that those that we're working with now and that we are going to be taking to market in the next couple of weeks have a remarkable opportunity to capture a lot of value in the market today, even given the uncertainty. There are just going to be fewer businesses of high quality available for sale and available for a partnership, but the same number of buyers in the market as there were January of 2019. Just a little bit about our success in the market for our clients from 2019 through 2020. This is based on actual sales data of everything that we've been able to work through. All of our deals trade over 100% of revenue. Average deal size was at 175% of revenue. Our deals don't trade on revenue from the buy side. They actually trade on operating free cash flow. Operating free cash flow is net income after normalized doctor compensation, which the buy side and we in the M&A world called EBITDA. To learn more about EBITDA, just visit our website, tusk-partners.com. There are hours and hours of video on this. But I'm pleased to say the average deal over this period traded at 7.4 times, and we had 3 transactions in the last 18 months that traded above 10 times EBITDA. Finally, over 65% of our deals are actually in the specialty space. So this is a space we know exceedingly well. And if you have questions around your valuation, especially given where we are today, we will happily talk with you. I'm going to hand it over to Ryan to go through some case studies of where we think this economy is heading, the buy-side economy is heading. Just give me 1 second, and I can do that. All right, Ryan, the floor is yours.
All right, thanks. Thank you, Kevin, and thank you all for taking the time today, considering all that's happening in the world. I'm going to review a case study with you around selling now or selling later. We've taken a lot of calls on this topic, and we felt that it would be beneficial to create an illustration to help everyone weigh these two options. The major concern that most of these folks are having is that they won't get the maximum value for their business, given the loss of revenue in recent weeks and months. They kind of think that it's more beneficial to sell in 12 to 18 months once their business returns back to normal. But I'm happy to report that based on conversations that we've had with buyers, we're confident that we can still obtain 2019 valuations. However, the deal structures might look a little different than what we saw in 2019, and that's what we're going to model out for you here. Although we're confident that we can get 2019 valuations post-COVID-19, we're not certain that 2019 values will continue forever. So as such, we're going to model out what selling 18 months might look like from now. Get my slides to move. Okay, so the example that we're going to look at is a practice with 3 locations, an oral surgery group, probably 2 main locations and a potential satellite you can see here generating $900,000 in revenue for a total of $4.5 million. And as Kevin discussed, everything's calculated and based on a form of EBITDA. So the aggregated EBITDA for this practice, this group, is $1.365 million, and that EBITDA margin is 30%. So now that we have our adjusted EBITDA for this business, now comes the time that we're going to apply a multiple to this business. And like we said, we do feel that we can obtain 2019 valuations under this structure. So we felt that, knowing what we know about this business, that this would trade at a 7 times multiple all day, every day in 2019. So that's what we're going to use here. So the total enterprise value of $9.5 million, and that's the enterprise value of 212% of collections, which is a bit higher than our average, but that is typically warranted for specialty practices like this. Those of you that are familiar with the way deals are structured, is there are always 2 components and likely 3 and potentially more in a deal structure. And the first is cash at close. The second most common is equity. That's rolled equity into the parent company or holding company that is purchasing your business. And then there is the holdback and or earnout. So this illustration that we're going to show today uses all 3 of those. So the first component is cash at close. 75% of this enterprise value would be in the form of cash going to the owners of the business or owner of the business in order to pay off all debt that is remaining on the business and then invest as they see fit. The next element is the earnout. So this is what we want to call out. A lot of deals that we see do have an earnout component in 2019, but we definitely think that this is the vehicle for getting deals done in the near term post-COVID-19. So this earnout, we're going to apply a 15% allocation from the enterprise value. Likewise, for the equity piece, we're going to have a 10% of the enterprise value applied to equity that's rolled into the holding company, and you ultimately get to monetize sometime down the road. So the estimated benefit for cash is pretty straightforward. You would have to apply any debt to the business, any fees associated with the transaction, and ultimately to all of these cash flows, you have to apply taxes. And tax rates right now are quite favorable. Again, we don't know if that's what it's going to look like in the future. But for instance, here, the cash flow flows as normal. Here's the earnout. So we don't like to structure deals where we don't feel that the seller can obtain 100% of the earnout. However, we did want to model out what a worst case scenario would look like. And likewise, that we don't want to structure deals that don't obtain 100% or give the opportunity to the seller to obtain 100%. Our buyers don't either, but we just want to make this for illustrative purposes to make a good comparison. Finally, the equity piece, we're going to assume a 2 times return on that equity. Now that equity could come due in 2 years, it could come due in 5 years. That's all dependent on the seller, or excuse me, the buyer, and where they're at in their journey with their private equity backer. But that's where TUSK comes in and can compare those apples to oranges, or even grapefruit comparisons with respect to buyers and the equity that you'll be rolling within them. So the total estimated benefit here is about $9.8 million. And again, this is dependent on the agreement. It's dependent on that return on equity. And as always, all of these revenues are subject to tax. And we know that today the tax rates are very, very favorable for businesses that are going through transactions through the rest of 2020. But before we move on, I just want to focus that with this particular scenario, we're looking at a 7 times multiple because we feel that that's indicative of 2019. And we're assuming worst case scenario with respect to the earnout by only achieving 50%. So now let's look at what it looks like if you're going to sell in 18 months. So we have the same adjusted EBITDA number of about $1.3 million, $1.4 million, but because we're not certain of what the multiples will bear 18 months from now, and we feel that it's topped out currently, we want to factor in some sort of decline in EBITDAs that are coming through the marketplace. So we're going to apply a 6 times EBITDA multiple for a total enterprise value of about $8.2 million, which is still 182% of collections. So even by dropping a small amount, you're still going to see well above 100% of collections for a business such as this. Likewise, with this deal, we're going to assume 75% cash at close for just over $6 million. We're going to have an earnout component with this, but we're not going to have it at 15% that you saw previously. So in this, we're assuming that the market has settled down and buyers aren't as I guess, persistent on having a large earnout component. And with equity, pretty normal to have that, if not 100% of the time for our transactions. You're going to roll 15% of the enterprise value into holding company equity. So the cash flows through just like normal. Again, you have to pay off debt, and all of these cash flows are taxable. The earnout, we're going to assume a higher level of earnout at 70%. Again, this isn't, we don't want to see deals structured in a way that would produce a 70% earnout, but it does happen sometimes. And then we're going to assume the same return on equity of 2 times. So the total return on equity is about $2.5 million for a total estimated benefit of $9.2 million. So again, this is all subject to the return on the equity, the terms of the deal, and tax. And again, 18 months from now, we don't know what the tax rate's going to look like. If there's a change in the White House, then you can absolutely assume that tax rates are going to increase. But right now, we feel that it's a very, very favorable environment and a great time to do a transaction. So to recap on this, we had a 6 times multiple and a higher level of achieved earnout for this before we compare. So this is comparing the 2 scenarios that we just looked at. So the 7 times EBITDA multiple on top, and right in the middle, if you were to sell in 18 months at a 6 times multiple while achieving a 70% of the earnout, the total difference is $621,000 in favor of selling today in this scenario. Now we can model this out 15 different ways, putting different levels of certainty and or sensitivity in the model. But for all intents and purposes, I think this is a great illustration to show that that multiple driver is really something to focus on. So selling now gives you the best chance to achieve 2019 valuations. And as Kevin said earlier, it's really a factor of supply and demand, with less businesses, qualified businesses with good leadership, good profit, and good structure coming to the market in the next 6 to 9 months. Also, selling today will provide a large windfall of cash. So if you are a little bit bearish on the market, selling now, getting a large sum of cash and reinvesting accordingly as you see fit is obviously very beneficial. Earnouts are likely the new normal. Now, 18 months from now, they might not be as large of a component of a deal structure, but they are likely to be the new normal in the near term for sure. And then also, it's very unlikely that taxes remain as low as they are. So keep that in mind as you're weighing your options to consider selling now or consider selling later. So hopefully that gives you a good idea of comparison for selling now versus selling later. And now we want to give you an update on the buyers. A lot of the calls that we have are not just with sellers. We also have a lot of calls with buyers to make sure that we have a good pulse on their business. So we have over $170 million in deals under LOI. So we're obviously speaking to those buyers on a very regular basis. And we've talked to them nationally as well to get their perspective on the market. And many of them, as you would expect, are taking a moment to get a handle on their core business and not so focused on growth. But they're all extremely certain and confident that this is a temporary setback for their businesses, and they're eager to start looking at deals today. They might not be closing on deals, but they're certainly still filling their pipeline with good businesses so that when everything turns around and is back to normal, they're ready to execute on these deals. Valuations for deals under LOI are still holding firm, so that's great news for all of you and all of our clients. And we're working with the buy side to craft structures such as the one that we looked at in scenario 1 of selling today to get deals done on the heels of this event. So I do want to address some of the things that Kevin talked about. So there are such things as invisible DSOs, as some people call them, and they're the traditional DSO models, the household names that we know. Some of them would even call themselves invisible DSOs, but we want to make sure that we address some of the perceptions of DSOs with you. So the 90% of the buyers out in the market and the ones that TUSK worked with the most, what they will not do is they will not change your business or your name. They'll not inform your patients, your colleagues, and anyone else that you have affiliated with them unless you want those folks to know. They're not going to take a hacksaw to your employees, your management team, your clinical staff, and they're not going to dictate treatment and or doctor philosophy. So we feel it's important to call this out because I think there might be some perceptions out there that we just want to make sure that we address head on. What they will do, however, is they will help you thrive in the years to come by being a well-capitalized partner with an immense knowledge of the large group practice space. They're also going to be a very vested partner in obviously want nothing but the greatest success for you and your team and your patients. And infrastructure and economies of scale to support your business and drive down costs. So all of you specialists on the phone that deal with implants, deal with Invisalign, deal with labs, they've got the ability to negotiate at a much higher level than you possibly could on your own. So that partnership has been extremely helpful in a lot of the specialty transactions we've done. They will aid at increasing your referrals. So if they're a large entity with a large GP base and you're a specialist that gets into that system, you've got instant referrals coming your way through the network of doctors and providers within that DSO, given its structure and where you fit in. And then finally, they're going to provide you with a large amount of cash to help you offset losses in your investment and your retirement accounts that you might have had happen to you in the wake of COVID-19. So this time I'm going to give it back to Kevin to take us over the finish line, but thanks again for your time and best of luck in the days to come.
Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, it's so interesting to me to think about how now is an opportunity to actually plan a sale of your business. I was on the phone with a 30-something-year-old who's built a remarkably profitable solo location, and he said, "Look, I'm ready to partner with the DSO. It's been hard to get to this point, and what I'd really like is to take some chips off the table, get a little shelter, get a little support, be able to breathe a little easier and get some help inside of the business. You know, we are seeing younger and younger doctors reach out to us who have decades of future earning potential and many, many more years doing what they love, clinical dentistry, or practicing in their specialty, that have said, it feels like now's the time for me to kind of take a beat and partner with someone. I can learn from them, I can get CE from them, and they can help guide and direct my business through this rocky time. So in taking those calls, what we've decided to offer is something unique in this unique time. We will absolutely perform a complimentary valuation for anyone on the call with revenues over $2 million. We're going to ask for some very simple information. You'll provide it to us, and assuming we can get all that to you, it is a rather painless exercise for us to run through and provide you what evaluation would have been on your 2019 numbers, and talk with you about what your strategy is to preserve that value. You know, I've mentioned our consulting team a couple of times. All of our consulting clients are still connected with us. They view those dollars they're spending with us more important today than they were 2 months ago. We are helping them navigate the shutdown, navigate the reopen, manage their cash on balance sheet, preparing for the working capital needs they're going to need going into the new economy, having hard conversations with their landlords and their team, and really preparing them for the best opening they can potentially have in the market that we're facing. So we'll not just cover your valuation, but give you some tips and tricks and insight into how to prepare for the open once we get through this rocky time. And if you decide to move forward with us, what we want to do is we'll craft a strategy with you. It'll be a 60 to 90-day strategy on how to get the business back up and running. It's no secret that the buy side, for all intents and purposes right now, is pencils down on 80% of transactions, and they want to be closing transactions. It's in everyone's financial best interest for them to be closing transactions. And we're being told by the buy side that they're going to hold firm to the valuation multiples that they agreed to in the letters of intent. So we know where the great buyers are. What we're going to have to do, though, is get creative on how these structures get built, like Ryan just showed. So we can work with you on a strategy to partner with the DSO, with the buyers who are looking to buy. So anybody on the call this evening that wants to participate in one of these, let me give this brief overview first, and then we'll give you our contact information. If you want to learn more about us, you feel free to hop over to our website, tusk-partners.com. Again, hours of video on there, a blog that is published regularly to keep our subscribers informed of what's going on inside of not just the DSO economy, but the general dental economy. Highly recommend you subscribe to the blog. Let me go back real quickly. I'll go back here. There we go. You can meet us in person once the conferences open back up again. We will be on the road. We have a new podcast that is available on all podcast streaming services and even on our website. Again, strongly recommend you listen to our most recent COVID-19 podcast. It's about 45 minutes. And I promise you, for what you pay, you will get a massive return on investment for that. All podcasts are free. All they take are your time, and I think we're all sitting on a little spare time these days. And finally, webinars like these. We are going to see more of these from the M&A side, from the consulting side. We believe that information is power, and we're trying to knock down the information asymmetry that lives in the market today. So if you'd like to participate in the program to learn about valuation for your business, help us, let us spend 30 minutes on the phone with you, share with you our insights and give you what we believe the value of your business to be, and craft a strategy for go-to-market in preparation for a sale. We are both available. Our contact information is below. You can find it on the website as well. Just thank you for your time. You know, I know we've covered a lot in a short period of time. We're here to help. We are in the business of dentistry. We are not gloving up, and we are not putting on masks, and we're not doing the morning huddles with our team each day. We are not taking those phone calls that you are from your scared staff. We're not taking the phone calls from the patients wondering when you're opening. But we are absolutely in the business of dentistry, and we are rooting for each and every one of you. Be safe, be patient, remain positive, and know that everyone here at TUSK Partners is here to help. Thank you for your time again this evening. I wish you all a nice rest of the week, and thank you again to Traylor and Heisel for hosting this. And we'll be in touch. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.